Welcome to Touched and Empowered, a show created to empower individuals to value their lives by hosting think tank discussions that will inspire positive action. Touched and Empowered with Katie and Ace starts now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Touched and Empowered. I'm Katie here with Ace, and at least we know who we are this week.
Now, how do we say that, Katie?
It has been a very interesting week. At least for me, it's been a very interesting week since the last time we spoke. There has been a lot of shifting in energy and realizing that boundaries that I have put up are actually holding. I don't remember everything that I did, but apparently some of them are holding. And I was like, oh, this is good.
Oh, so proud of you. Well done.
But thank you.
Yay.
That, and I'm just enjoying the fact that I have decided that I am not going to get sick this week.
That's a great decision. I support.
Oh,
I
let me
truly-
let me
yes.
clarify. Brian's got the flu.
Oh.
And he went to work on Tuesday, came home, and hasn't worked since. Really not feeling good. I mean, he sounds horrible.
Oof. This is going around.
But he went to patient first, got some meds, he's doing okay. I'm supposed to fly to California next week.
Yes, you are.
There's this bubble around me. I am not gonna get sick.
Bravo. Bravo.
And he has agreed to, keep space. He hasn't come closer to than like 12 feet inside of our house. So then that way he, he stood outside my office this morning and told me that he sprayed down the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen with disinfectant before I came downstairs to make sure that I didn't get anything. I was like, wow, thank you.
What a kind human. Talk about boundaries being set and held.
I was like, wow, very considerate. Good. Now get your butt back on the couch so then that way I can now walk through the house and keep distance.
That's great. Shoot.
So he's still having a rough time, but he's doing better. And I know that he will be fine. He will get better on his own without any needing of additional assistance from me.
Excellent. Okay. That's fine.
So random fact in the world according to Katie. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? What's today's topic?
Talking about overcoming adversities and how that makes us stronger and how those experiences continue to make us stronger when we remember them.
You mean all those trials and tribulations that we've been dealing with since the day we were born actually mean something?
Oh, really? Who knew? I love it when people are like, it's all meaningless. I'm like, all right, folks. Let's roll it back here.
Yeah,
it's only meaningless because you don't see it.
Well, no, it's not that they don't see it. It could be that they just don't see what it means.
Oh, tell me more, Katie.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about I can remember all of the times that I thought my body was invincible as a teenager, yet I ended up with broken bones.
Yes, we talked about this last week, didn't we?
I did show one of my stories, but no, just the fact that I kept thinking my body was invincible and it wasn't, and it just took me a couple broken bones to realize that. Those are trials and tribulations, especially with trying to relearn how to walk as a teenager. But there are roadblocks, there are hints, there are things that suck that go on in our world that we might not realize there's a lesson there unless we're open to it.
Shall we talk about that?
Go for it.
Last week.
What happened last week?
Last week, or the last time we met. So essentially, I was telling Katie, I was like, oh my gosh, I've never hit such an experience before where I was like, wow, wow, wow. Wow.
So how did that go?
All right. So I needed about 2 grand.
Right.
Maybe a grand and a half. In, like in 24 hours.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. We started thinking, wanting, and hoping that Saturday,
Right.
mind you. And it's a really interesting experience. So essentially, I was going to a retreat center. It was a Buddhist retreat center, and it was worth it. I forgot I've done this before, but so essentially within that period, I'm like, okay, how? Like, here's the thing, folks. One of the biggest lessons that I've learned is if you have an idea, regardless of how crazy it sounds, you still have the potential to manifest it.
Absolutely. And you
Yeah,
don't need
otherwise
to
you
know
wouldn't.
the how.
Mm-mm.
You just need to know that it's going to happen.
Yes. And with that understanding and that wisdom, as anxiety and inducing as it could be, folks, like, with that being said, it's still kind of one of those things where, like, the thought wouldn't come to you if you couldn't manifest it. That's just logic.
True.
Right. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, everything in my expense chart went up a couple $100. Like, rent went up
Inflation.
600. Sure, rent went up $600. Some of my medical bills went up to like $300. Right
Right.
before, I'm like, I'm gonna go. Maybe as you could see my face of like, no, I'm going.
You're-
I'm going. I decided to go. I'm going. Craziest roller coaster I've ever seen in my life, felt in my life, been in my life. Whoever, if I designed this before I came to this lifetime, I was a jerk. So here, but funny, honestly. So essentially, we're getting down to the wire. I'm like still battling with my inner doubts as to I'm going, am I going? And I'm chanting, and I'm like doing all of the things, checking, like increasing my credit cards. I'm seeing that I have a refund from the IRS. I'm like seeing all of these specific things where I can like pull together this amount of money, right?
Right.
So I'm fighting. My mother's like, why the heck are you going? You can't afford it. And I'm like, and I'm still like fighting to go to this thing, and I'm chanting and chanting, and then I'm like, okay, all right, Katie, is this gonna happen?
I
And
didn't realize how much of a struggle you were in manifesting this prior to that conversation.
yeah,
So that is impressive. That is insane. That is intense because I only know what I heard. And what I heard was, you're going.
like, you're going. We don't know how, but you're still going. And I'm like, I'm going. I think I'm going. Oh my God. And I'm like freaking out. And then I had a client overpay me literally right after our conversation, Katie.
Holy cow.
I had one client overpay me, so I had enough money for the flight ticket stub.
That is impressive.
Thank you. We still need the registration fee. Right?
Still need the registration fee. Okay.
Okay. Refund amount is exactly like $560 plus a little bit out of like savings.
And that showed up too?
That showed up exactly an hour before I had to go and MC something. I get to the thing that I have to MC, and the person that processes those payments, usually they have to wait till 9 a.m. to do that, right?
Right.
He was there at the meeting, and he could process the fee right then and there, and I could go to the conference the next day.
Nice.
Yeah, we're not done.
Oh, we're not done. There's
We're not
more.
done.
Okay.
There's more. So I use the third party service for flights, right? Hopper.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I heard they never do this. This never normally happens for them. There was some type of miscommunication between the Hopper app and and the airline. I was told that I had a ticket. I got to the airport, no ticket.
Ooh.
And I was like, "Are you serious?" They were like, "Yeah, no, sorry." And I was like, "My flight's in 45 minutes." And they're like, "No, it's not." Like, I'm just like, oh. And then I'm asking them because I already bought everything. I'm going. I'm telling them like, hey, so when's the next flight out? What has cancellations? How can I get out of here? They're like, the next flight around 11 a.m. It's, by the way, 9 a.m. 11 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
has a lot of cancellations. You could possibly get on that, but you have to buy your ticket on the app. And I'm looking at the flight ticket prices, and I'm looking at every single one of them, and they're like 900. Same day, that's why 900,
Right.
800, except the next flight out because of all the cancellations was 395.
Ooh, we like that.
We like that, and we also like that a client overpaid me again. I had right before I got to the airport. They overpaid me literally over $600 more than my normal hair modeling fee.
Oh, wow. So you
So I had enough for the flight. I had enough for the I had enough for the flight, for
registration?
the registration fee, everything. Literally the next day, before I got there, bought the ticket. Then I got on the flight. The airline, the miscommunication between the airline and Hopper, they understood the issue, and guess what they did?
Did they
They
refund you what they charged, what you had paid previously?
they refunded, and they gave me an extra $300 credit.
Oh, wow. See, manifesting is not the problem.
No, it wasn't. I guess it was my patience, but like, do you see how close we're cutting it here, universe? Then we got the place. I was like so happy to be there. Any qualms, any issues, I was like, this is my benefit. I'm grateful. I'm here. I'm enjoying. And then yes, I got stronger. I felt stronger. I was reading all this wonderful philosophical like guidance to help understand what the heck I was going through
Mm-hmm.
at the right time when I got there. And I made it back in one piece smoothly. No issues, no questions. Somebody gave me a ride back from the airport. It was beautiful. One nice
Lovely.
sweet.
We love
Oh, thank you.
those.
We do. We do. Oh my gosh. So there you go, Katie. That's
There's the
exactly
thumbs
what
up.
I. Yep, there's a thumbs up. Katie, that's what I experienced. I do feel stronger, and I feel like if money needs to come to me tomorrow, I
It'll
can
be there.
manifest it. It'll be there.
Absolutely.
Otherwise the obstacle wouldn't be there.
Right. And it's one of those that I think the gratitude that you have afterwards is probably what's reinforcing the universe saying, we're going to give you more because you are showing your gratitude towards it.
That's great. Can we not do it like that?
Well, we like things like that because I don't know about you, but when I give somebody something, I appreciate receiving gratitude for when I give them something. I'm pretty sure the universe is the exact same way.
I'm very, 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 very grateful. Yes. I am incredibly grateful. Yes. I got to go. I have an experience that apparently encouraged a lot of people.
Wonderful.
Encouraged me. Yes, I'm happy. And it was so interesting because the moment I got there too, it was so interestingly synchronistic because every time I had a conversation with somebody, like a mystic, like not intervention, but like I was meant to be there to share specific experiences
Right.
with 1 to 3 other people, right? So the second thing I'm gonna just give my top 3 that happened last
Okay.
week. Thank you.
Go for it.
There was a young lady there that was like having was struggling with addiction. Basically, how am I supposed to get off these like specific medications because she's a kid and she's just been struggling with it and like her partner wasn't there, so she doesn't have like that security blanket, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, I went through this, except it wasn't like drug addiction. So my medication is pretty strong for my ADHD, right?
Right.
Right. And there was a shortage for
Yeah.
my medication. And there still is, which is like still imagine how many people in the United States now have ADHD. So essentially, I was telling her after I got like I couldn't take my medication, I actually had to like go through the withdrawal symptoms because it wasn't available. Oh, and by the way, it's awful. It's so
Yeah.
horrible going through
Withdrawal
that,
from
right?
anything is horrible.
Oh, it was like it was a full week, but it was interesting because as I was going through the withdrawal symptoms, um, it's like a typhoon of emotions, and you're just trying to get like trying to recalibrate, and you're like, oh, I don't know what's up, what's down. The panic ensues. Like it was awful. So what I did was like we have this mandala called the Bible Ones in our Buddhist practice. And essentially, I told her, I was like, I laid next to Michael Winston, like my mandala, and I would
Mm.
chant to it, go to sleep, wake up, chant to it, go to sleep, wake up, chant to it, go to sleep. Every time I would feel uncomfortable, and it helped soothe me back to sleep without having to resort to any other type of medication or a person for support.
Right.
And it worked. And that person was like, I'm doing that. I'm like, I'm really glad because
Yeah.
I think I went through that for you.
Well, it's one of those that I think any of us who have gone through any kind of withdrawal know the unfortunate possibility of taking something else to fill that gap, whether that be emotional whether that be somebody being your emotional blanket, your emotional support, and you
Mhm.
relying on them like you relied on what you were taking before, or it
Mhm.
be another substance or alcohol or anything at
Right.
all. In my my biggest addiction was food, so finding that I could do something to give myself that same kind of sensation in my body without physically eating, I think would help anyone realize that, I don't want to be dependent on something else or someone else. I want to be 100% dependent on myself, knowing that I can get through a sticky situation while I'm waiting for medication to show up, while I'm waiting for this stressful thing in my life to be over with. You know, finding ways to um self-soothe, I guess is the best way to put it, without relying on external items to fix that.
Right. And it's a beautiful way. So, for instance, in that situation, she mentioned that her partner wasn't around. For my situation, particularly, I that was actually when my partner wasn't there,
Right.
right? Um, for whatever reason, right? And because that individual wasn't there, I was like, I've done this before. Would I have been grateful for the support? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Were they there? No. Regardless, right? I knew how to do it without them.
Right.
And that was so like empowering and understanding because like in the moments that we feel like we need like I've never wanted to need people ever. It's just like not I it feels funky.
It
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 feels like puts
does. Yeah,
yeah.
I can understand that just because of the fact that there have been so many people dependent on me. I don't want to be dependent on somebody else.
And also like we are interdependent, right?
Right.
We are all connected. There is a reason why we're connected with each other. And sometimes that unlocks exactly what we need to move forward in our lives. Hands down, that's understandable.
Absolutely.
But in those moments where I feel like no one's there but me,
Hmm.
I've always felt like I never want to be in a situation where it's just me And I'm like literally powerless. Like no, not what I want. But it was interesting because I also had a friend shared a story with me about like how um have you ever heard of this? When people give you $5 a napkin and a lighter and they put you in the middle of a city and they're like, all right, get back home. And they leave you there.
I've never I've heard of situations where people have been left in the middle of a city somewhere and told to find their way home, but never with $5 a napkin and a lighter.
Let me explain why.
Okay.
I've never done this. I'm smiling.
I know you're smiling. You've got a good story here. I'm interested.
The reason for the three things is one, $5 to get you home. If you can make it to a place where you can use $5 to get you home, that's all you need. Most of the time, if you're really in distress, I know this is better for females, not as much as for males, but if you're really in distress and you're like, I need to get home, all I got is $5, and a taxi driver is there and they can drive you a 5 mile radius, they'll do
Right.
it. Right. The other reason, lighter, make a friend, cigarettes.
Oh, true.
Right. And I'm not saying smoke, folks. I'm not saying
Right.
that. But you
But
can make a friend with
you
a
can't
lighter.
you can make a friend with a lighter from that standpoint. I get that. Yes.
Yeah, you really can.
So what's the deal with the napkin?
Just in case something gets on your face, you just gotta.
Here I am thinking you're going to use it for like smoke signals or something.
Wow, that's very that's very ingenuitive. I love your style there, Kate.
I don't,
But to be
you know,
but yeah, but honestly, like those are in order to figure it out. Just being resourceful. You can figure out how to get home with those three things, and a good portion of the time, it's your own personality. It's the way that you can find something within yourself, or at least the intelligence to understand how things fit to get you home.
that's true. That's true. And it's all the reminding ourselves that we are capable, creative, and resourceful enough to figure anything out.
Exactly.
So
Do
what
we have to do it all
else?
the time?
No, we don't have to do it all the time. So you shared your one story about the young lady and about the chanting. So what were the other two?
Oh, the flight wasn't the other.
Well, you
The
said
flight
three. There
there.
were three people you wanted to share stories about.
Oh, I was
Or did
talking
I
about that.
misunderstand you? Oh, okay. I misunderstood
Yeah.
you. No big deal.
It's okay. It's all good. It was really cool though. I really, really enjoyed that because it was like, when you go through something and you're like, why the heck did I go through that? Oh, it's because I needed to figure it out so that I could pass on that knowledge to somebody who will also be struggling with that, right?
Yes. And what's really funny is that I had someone tell that to me earlier this week. My mom actually we were having a conversation in reference to this current software that we are using for her business, for her CRM that I'm in the process on building websites for, going to be putting some courses up for her, stuff like that. And she asked me my opinion as to whether to use this software or to use the app, because she also has an app.
Mhm.
And I was explaining to her the benefit of putting it on the software is that the software is compatible with the app versus if we
Cool.
put it on the app, we can't transfer it the other way. It can only be transferred one way.
Right. Okay.
So I was explaining this to her in the midst of our conversation, and she's like, well, what about all this other stuff that we've used in the past, which has been multiple different CRMs, multiple different learning management softwares, multiple different payment processors. I mean, this whole slew of software that is expensive.
Okay.
I pretty much told her that based off of everything that she has ever used and what we are currently using now is the most user-friendly for her, meaning she's actually learning to use the software so I don't have to fix everything, meaning more free time for Katie. I do love that.
We like that.
And the fact that we can put it one spot, and it'll be available on the website, and I can quote unquote transfer it to the app. So it's in two spots. And She actually thanked me for all of the time I have invested in the last 4 years in trying to figure out all of the different software that she has purchased, that she has used, that she has signed us up for, and then said, "Here, Katie, you figure it out." That she's very glad that none of that time was wasted because I can now tell her that what she has now is exactly what she needs.
You know, that gratitude right there, isn't it just like the lemon on the lemon pie? It's just that's awesome.
I was like,
Aw.
wow, okay. So yeah, I can look at that as not being completely wasted because it did give me a lot of knowledge. It gave me a lot of really good information. However, I still don't want to do full-time tech support. So moving on.
I understand. I honestly like I was actually digging kind of through the years of all of my experience of like being in these really interesting environments
hmm
and then understanding what I learned in each one. And I was like, wow, honestly, no wonder. Like, even though things may have been tough, even though the environments weren't, you know, the most ideal
Right.
when it came to working, um, the things that I needed to learn when I was there in each position, so crucial.
Yeah. I mean, I've worked since I was 14,
Same.
and every job that I've had, even the ones that really, really, really sucked, I learned something that made the next job easier.
Yes.
And even if
100%.
it was how to talk to a mean boss, that
It was
made the
solved.
next job easier.
100%. Yeah. I think like there was one job. There were many jobs. There are so many jobs
Oh,
that I
yeah,
took. Yeah. I mean, like every look, you need to build skills somewhere.
you do.
Um,
One of the things that I found is I learned through the course of my multiple jobs that there actually got to be a threshold to where I wouldn't take anything anymore. I had one job where I had to work 10 to 12 hours a day to
mhm.
earn enough overtime to cover the cost of the health insurance coming out of my paycheck. So then that way I could still afford my rent and groceries and everything else like that.
Same.
And I had that job for only 9 months. And I was given a great opportunity to interview with another company that was going to actually pay me more than what I was making without the overtime and cover all of the health benefits and everything else like that that I needed. And I was torn because of the belief that I had to give 2 weeks notice. And because I had to, you're supposed to be in a job, I was always told, if you're in a job, you have to keep it for at least a year before you put in your 2 weeks notice. Don't know where that limiting belief came from. It was so bogus. But I was torn between what my start date could be at this new job because I wanted to make sure that I gave my 2 weeks notice. Well, the funny thing is I gave my 2 weeks notice and then I ended up tearing my Achilles tendon and couldn't go to work those 2 weeks anyways.
See, things don't work out the way they're supposed to.
So they
Oh my
all worked
goodness.
out the way they were supposed to. Um,
Yeah.
but I realized, not all rules are meant to be applied equally. They're supposed to be applied equitably.
Very smart. Very smart. Smart. Yes.
I know
Love
one of the
that.
few light bulbs. Woohoo!
That's a
We
big
love
light bulb
those.
moment. That's yes. Yes. Love that. It's very true because like when you think about it, yes, certain things work circumstantially. It's really important also to be flexible. So like
Right.
sometimes we go by the regimen and it needs to be this, it needs to be this way. It's good, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that works circumstantially.
Right.
If you continue to have that type of mindset as you grow into an adult, no one's going to take you seriously.
True. I think what it is that whole thing about whether it's equal or not is applying the rules as to where this takes place. For example, the rules of an employee at a mom and pop business is completely different than the rules of an employee at a corporate job. And is completely different to the rules of being an entrepreneur. Now,
100%. Mine,
the
yeah,
tasks and everything are still the same. You still have to answer the phone, you still have to answer emails, you still have to communicate with customers, but the rules on doing that are completely different.
absolutely. And do you know how to gauge where the flexibility lies,
Right.
folks? It's in the resources and understanding, like that gap between you, what you can manage, what resources you have or you have to get, and then being malleable in understanding that and the achievement of your goals.
Yes.
Once you can actually map out all the resources, you see what is necessary to achieve XYZ goal, then you can be flexible in that understanding and then move forward that way.
And that just makes everything a little bit easier because once you realize that you could be a little bit flexible on that, then you realize that you could be a little bit of flexible on other things, meaning that it is okay to not be available at the crack of dawn so you can take me time.
I think that flexibility right there. All right, so there are certain things that we talked about boundaries a few
Yes,
times already.
we've talked about self-care and stuff a lot on this channel,
Yeah.
but I had to toss it in there because I had one of those situations where it was like, I need you to do this, and I'm like, nope, not during this window, not available. Oh, you've already got a client? I said, yes, that client is me.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. And also like, so if you decide to replay this audio, by the way, because I know that was really deep and kind of, I don't know if it was profound, but I know that it was like a deep formulaic way of how
Right.
I understand to jump into new environments. That's actually a good way to jump into any new situation, any new job, create new things, or even old things, but with new resources. So, like, for instance, I'm going to give you a full scale example because I think this actually might be profitable and useful for people here.
Okay.
All right. Katie and I, right? We created this podcast. We're going to use that as an example.
Okay. Go
Katie
for
and
it.
I have both, Katie and I have both been on some type of talking platform before. Katie knows how to build a podcast, right?
Yes.
But we didn't need her to build the podcast. We needed her to
Yay.
actually be on the podcast. Yay. Yet we know that she knows she knows the tech side. She has the vision understanding. Great. So she can help also um, manage and lead with our producer.
Who does a fabulous job. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole, right? My understanding of how to build this was somebody gave me the idea. Sounded like a good idea. Two other people wanted me to build the idea. So I called one of them and said, "Hey, I think I know how to bracket it out, and I know somebody I want to do it with." Resources, people,
Right.
goals,
Goals.
growth, right? So with that being said, after that, Katie and I came together, figured out what our goals would be, figured out the entire format of what we need to build. From there, gave us a little bit of time and wiggle room, and now we have how many episodes?
I don't know what number this one is that we are recording right now, but I do
40
know at the
something.
time of this recording, there's like 45 that have been published, launched, aired at
And
the
how
time
many
of
do
this
we have?
recording. And how many
And how
do we
many
have
do
in the background? Another 40 or so.
Yes, it's
We
formulaic.
it's we plan ahead because we had those conversations in reference to the fact that we know life is going to happen and we're not going to be able to record every single week. And because you travel, I travel, we have our own separate lives and everything. So we planned ahead by recording. I think we recorded almost 20 episodes before the first one was even aired because we
Yes.
wanted to have that buffer. So then in case if, even though we know Katie will still record a podcast when she's sick, we had that buffer built in for when we had those situations as to, oh, you're traveling, Katie's traveling, whatever.
Right.
And because of that communication and using the resources and everything, we were able to do this podcast to where it's fun for both of us.
And it's actually lucrative.
Yeah. I mean, that's a plus. We always love that.
We love that. Yeah.
But for me, my concern of doing the podcast was I took a podcasting class from the standpoint of learning how to do all the back end stuff because I had to do all the back end stuff for my mom's podcast. So I had just handed that over to somebody else. She actually hired somebody to do the back end of her podcast, so I didn't have to do it anymore. And I wasn't willing to give up that time to do editing and stuff again. Which again, thank you very much, Nicole. Thank you. And it's allowing us to do some pretty fun things.
100%. Yeah. And it's one of those amazing efforts that we find where it's like we're building and we know that this is going to sustain, but not just sustain as we get better at this, and we also like as listeners grow, right? And then the more that people are they would want us to keep going, right?
Yes.
Right. Easier it is for us to just keep going and building in the same respect. It's kind of funny because like I remember everything that I learned to help build this with with Katie, Nicole, with everyone, and also from the beautiful motivator Pamela, Dr. Pamela.
Dr. Pamela, yes.
Yes. And John Tallarico. I realized that we had everything we needed to build this idea. It was going to be built differently, yes. But everything that you've had in a formulaic sense still will come together as long as you understand and appreciate every resource.
Absolutely. And I am very grateful for everyone who has helped us from day one all the way through now. Dr. Pamela and John Tarico, that we've interviewed them and they have been fantastic helps, not only for being on our show, but being resources to answer questions for us when we're like, what do we do now?
Right. Yeah. How do we expand from here? We've been doing quarterly reviews, like we're being so professional.
We're trying to be professional. I'm just going to say that we're trying.
I mean, on the compliance end, we are professional. Yes.
Yes. However, I'm going to continue to say we're trying because trying is more fun.
I don't like the word try.
Okay,
doesn't
fine.
Baby Yoda have a phrase about that?
Yeah. Okay. So we don't try. We're having fun with it. We'll just say that. We're having fun with it.
We have fun as we do.
We have fun as we do.
Yeah. It's funny because anytime I talk to somebody who says try, it's like one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah, Yoda's coming into brain. Do or do not. There is no try.
See? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do or do not. There is no try. And as you try, if somebody tells me try, I'm kind of just like, do I want to correct them? Do I like them that much? Or do
I want to put in the energy to something that may not succeed? No. If I'm going to put the energy towards something, I want to put it towards something that will succeed.
Wow. I didn't mean to put it that way, but yeah.
That's it. Well, that's exactly what it is. Or am I like completely not understanding Yoda?
I just had a person in mind, and the fact that you said that, I was like,
Here's what I know. Intention is a wonderful thing, but you have to follow it with action.
Yes. Wow.
Just like trying isn't going to get you anywhere unless you put the energy in it to actually get it done.
Yeah. My favorite is when somebody says, I'll try. I'm like, yeah, like if I like them, I will, I will tell them.
Okay.
So how long has it been since you've had try in your vocabulary? How many things have you been able to accomplish using the word try? Yes, no. So when
Okay.
you remove it from your vocabulary, call me back.
Yes, and
That's
there
what I like.
are situations where the word try does apply. For example, trying to crochet following a pattern is an attempt. It didn't succeed. I had to undo all my work and do it again. But I was still doing it. I was still making the attempt. I was still putting the energy into it. I was still attempting. I wasn't trying, I was attempting.
See the difference. All right, folks. So this is the next episode. I'm just kidding. So in the event that we understand episode this idea of an episode. I know that we just talked about the trials and tribulations and how that strengthens the adversity. To be very fair, in between each part of the I didn't use the word try.
Right.
That is actually the biggest shortcut to achieving anything is you remove the word try from what you're trying. Wow. You remove the word try from trying to succeed. You just succeed.
Yes. And I think that it's learning to use different words. Because for me, the word try is just, that's been the word that I've grew up with. You try to ride a bike. You try to learn how to cook. You try to learn this. You try, there's all these things you try. So finding a different word to replace it, so then that way it has a more positive impact versus the negative that try now has. It's just something to be mindful of.
Absolutely. If you're going to say, I'll do my best.
Very good.
Totally fine. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. I'll make my best effort. I will do my best. The moment I hear somebody say try, I'm such a pet peeve for me. Oh, Katie, it gives me goosebumps. It makes me just want to go. Like when somebody's like, when somebody tells me like, oh, I'll try to win. I'm like, win.
It does. Okay, so this is going to be interesting now because
my heart.
Part of me completely understands why this word is a pet peeve for you.
Thank you.
The other part of me is like, I'm going to see how many times I could say the word try before you flinch.
You see how much I wince? I wince at it.
I know you do.
When I see text messages with the word try in it, I'm like, or when I hear phone call, I'm like, you just don't see my face. I'm like, you're gonna what? It's like worse than saying the F-bomb, the B word. It's like more. Looks like nailed on a freaking chalkboard. Oh, that word. Wow, I didn't realize how passionate I was about that.
I will try not to use it anymore.
You mean do your best? You'll do your best?
I will do my best. I need my little devil horns. I will do my best.
And on that note, folks, thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Touched and Devoured. Please do your best and everything that you can in this lifetime.
Absolutely. Take care, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you for joining us. We hope that the discussion today will inspire you to take positive action in your life. Until next week, be empowered.